So over the last few months, we have gotten some questions from some of you about our interracial relationship. You've asked us to answer them and we haven't been able to because we are parents. But today we have some time and we've decided to dive into some of those questions for you. We'll be answering 5 of those questions about our relationship. So let's get into it right now. So the very first question that one of you asked was, Vero, have you always wanted a white guy? Have you always wanted to marry a white man? Did you always desire to be with a white man? What is the tea? Give it to us. Well, I wouldn't say I've always wanted a white man because growing up in Africa, there weren't really a lot of white people around. Well, I personally didn't see them. I didn't know if they were even a thing until I moved.
They were even a thing.
I don't know. I didn't see them until I moved from my village to a different town, and then I saw one girl in my school that was Caucasian. I was like, oh, she's different, you know. It took a little bit of getting used to. So It was interesting for me. And after I spoke to her, I realized that we're not really different. We're really like, you know, kind of the same people. Fast forward, I moved to the United States and I see white people everywhere. From the airport to my house, I saw them every single place. And I was like, oh, this is their town. And I was like, okay. And so it's not something that I was like, oh, I'm going to marry a white person. I want to marry a white person. Actually, most of the relationship I've been since I was a teenager and into my adulthood, I had dated mostly people of my race, black men. And so that was actually a shift change for me when I met Ted. I had dated one person that was Caucasian prior to meeting Ted, and that relationship didn't really go anywhere. We're getting to know each other, but it didn't go anywhere. And so to answer that question, no, the desire to be with a white man was not always there, but it happened because I think it's the will of God for me. Yeah,
that's right.
I'm married to him, so obviously it is the will of God.
You weren't desiring a white man, you were desiring this man.
Yes, I was desiring, Ted is so silly. I was desiring this man, exactly. And to be honest with you, I have to be honest. Leaving my village and moving to the city and meeting that white girl, even though it was different, I was kind of a little like scared. I was like, oh, why is she? You know, we fear what we don't know and we fear what we are not used to. And so my very first encounter with a white person, I was kind of a little scared.
Yeah.
But like I said, after I talked to her and got to know her, I realized she was nice. So it opened up something within me for them. And I guess that is also a part of it. But
what about TV? You must have seen white men in movies and you probably had crushes on white men in movies. Come on.
Oh my God, we watched TV as kids, but it was mostly like the local channels.
Okay.
If you grew up back in those days, like
Nollywood,
yeah, Nollywood and Gawi, but it was like the local channels, and sometimes too we didn't have electricity, and so we had to go across to the neighbor's house to watch their TV. And the kids over there were mean because they used to close the curtain and they wouldn't let us watch. So we were not really exposed to a lot of television growing up. You know.
The next question that we get somewhat frequently by a lot of our subscribers is, do you receive a lot of criticism as an interracial couple? Well, we've had our critics.
Yes.
I think anybody has their critics. And especially if you are functioning outside of the box, outside of the status quo, what people consider to be normal or standard practice. If you color outside the lines, right? People are going to look at you sideways without seeing that, oh wow, he's actually a genius and he's creating a masterpiece.
Yes.
And so, yeah, we've had our critics. Some have been close to us. Yeah. Some have been complete strangers. And a lot of them have actually been on the social media platforms, just, you know, riddling the comments section with some of the most ugly things we've ever read in our entire lives, which is saying something. But for all of the negativity that we have received, it's been vastly more positive.
Yes.
Definitely. Most people are super supportive, super kind, and intrigued sometimes too. Like, how did you two meet? Not as if, you know, how could you two be together, but as if, how can two worlds separated, you know, in such a vast way by culture and distance and all of these things come together together in a successful marriage the way that you've met. And so it's fascinating to talk to people about it.
Yes, and they ask questions, and I like when people ask questions rather than just look. You know, if you are seeing something that you are not used to, it's better to just ask a question, and instead of just staring and just, you know.
Right, because then you're like, whoa.
Then I'm creeped out, and I'm like, why are you staring at me the way you are? But if you ask me a question, oh wow, how did you two meet and stuff, I'm open to answering, because I'm open to educating people, and it's so important to, you know, invite others into your world and let them know that, hey, this is possible, this is okay. But if you are judging from a distance or looking at me in a side way, then I'm like, what are you feeling? What are your emotions?
Right.
You know, let me know. What's up? So the next question this person has is, are you worried your child will have racial identity issues? Oh my goodness. It is something that has crossed my mind personally, and I'm sure Ted have also thought about it, but we are not dwelling on it. I am personally not dwelling on it because I know that what we instill in her will help her navigate herself through this world. It's a crazy world out there, so you have to make sure you teach your children right and wrong. You have to make sure that you teach them that, hey, listen, people might think you are a little different because when people are not used to something, they don't want to deal with it. But you have to know who you are. You need to have the self-confidence to be able to stand for yourself, to be able to speak out for yourself. So that is something that we are already instilling in her. We tell her her affirmations every single day when we can, and we allow her to see that you are enough just the way you are. And so whether people would think, oh, is she black? Is she white? What is she? She's a human being. And we need to get to a place where we look past that. And I think that this world will be such a better place if we are able to come together and to understand that, listen, she's human, I'm human, and at the end of the day, we can come together as a team and overcome all our differences.
Not too long after we announced that we were going to have a baby, there was someone that left a comment on one of our videos saying that we had polluted the race, by, you know, creating a child together, and that Proverbs was somehow this taboo thing. And it was really mind-blowing in one regard, and it showed us that this can become an issue for certain people if they're exposed to the concept that there is something different about them, or, and this is not true, something wrong with them based upon somebody else's ignorant and ugly point of view. So we're just instilling principles within Proverbs at a very, very early age to give her an awareness of who she really is, in the sense that God has created her the same way He's created me, my wife, and every one of you watching. Everyone in this world has been created by God and is here for a reason. We're different, but we're also more the same than we are different. And so giving Proverbs this foundation of confidence and understanding where she comes from, it's less about grabbing hold of some sort of identity or a racial flag to wave. It's that we're all part of the human race. And that she is here because her parents love each other, and that we love her. And that that's the way that we're all going to thrive and find out who we truly are uniquely as individuals. Find out who our authentic self is, and to encourage every single one of us to meet our highest potential. And that's what we hope for her.
And so the next question that one of you had for us was, Vero, are white men better lovers than black men? Oh my goodness, are white men better lovers?
Careful how you answer this one.
I have to be careful how I answer this. Well, I wouldn't say white men are better lovers, you know. I would just say that with my personal experience, what I've seen is that white men tend to be more emotional and more sensitive, you know what I mean? And so as a result, it gives them an edge when it comes to, you know, understanding how you are feeling. You know, when someone is like driven emotionally, sometimes it helps them to feel what you are feeling, and it makes it easier. And so that's what I would say. But whether they are better lovers, I would say it's just a matter of who you are with. Who you are with will determine whether they are better lovers or they Yeah, no, there are some
Right.
men who will never buy you flowers, and there are some men who will. There are some men who will never buy you chocolate, and there are some men who will. There are some men who will not listen to what you need, and there are some that will. So it's all a matter of who you are with. And so when you are choosing a partner, please choose wisely. During your time of courtship, get to know the man that you are with. Identify the red flags. Don't ignore them. You know, if he doesn't get you flowers while you are dating, he's not going to get you flowers when you are married. If he doesn't surprise you, he's not going to be surprising you when you are married. So, you know, identify the red flags. Know what you like. You know, I know what I like, so Ted works for me. And so know what you like so that the person that you are with will work for you and you will not be complaining when you get married. Because what he's not doing at the beginning, he's not going to do it later on.
As much as I would like to take the credit and say that, yes, I am the better lover of them all, the Don Juan of them all, my wife is actually right on point. It is all about the individual and that individual's heart, that individual's character, their growth, where they're at in life. And like she said, pay attention to the red flags. However, many men put on their best self when they're courting you.
That is true.
So he may be buying you flowers right at the beginning. He may be buying you chocolates. He may be showering you with attention and all these things. You're not necessarily always going to know. There are some risks in life, but the things that you should be paying attention to is, who is this man fundamentally?
Yes.
Does he have a relationship with God?
Yes.
How does he treat his family?
Yes.
How does he treat strangers?
Yes.
Things like that. How is he free with his own time, or does he tend to be very self-centered? Not necessarily these superficial things like giftings and even attention and that kind of stuff. That could be a good sign, yes. But it also might mean that he's just fishing real hard and he wants to make sure that he catches you.
Yes.
And that once he has you, he's going to drop all that stuff because he really doesn't do that naturally when the dust settles.
If you take the time to be alone, to know what you love and understand who you are as a person, it will help you to see the red flags and not to just ignore them. The reason why we ignore the red flags is because we don't know who we are, we don't know what we want, and so whatever anyone presents on the table or on the plate is what we eat. But if you know who you are, you will not just eat whatever that it comes on the plate. You know, you will learn to identify, okay, I don't have a taste for this, I don't desire this, and you get rid of them. So take the time and get to know who you are as a person, and when that other person comes, you'll be like, oh, I cannot be full. Been there, done that, and that's it. But the last but not the least question that we have for you today is the person asking, Vero, how have you been able to allow Ted into your culture, meaning my African culture? Has Ted adapted to your African culture? Does he enjoy your food? Is he okay with your family, the way you guys are? Well, let me answer Dave. Have you adapted to my culture? First of all, let me ask you this.
It didn't take any adaptation. It was just like automatic.
It was?
Well, yeah. I mean, it was just like everything flowed. I met Veronica and it was just like everything flowed.
Yes.
At least for me.
Yes,
and
I mean,
her mom was crazy about me the instant she met me, is what I hear.
100%.
Yeah,
Yes,
her pastor was basically just giving her the green light as soon as he saw my picture. He said, that's the one, you need to marry him. And I was like, you have an awesome pastor. I love this guy. So I didn't have to struggle, and I've always been relatively open-minded, and so I didn't have this narrow, things have to be a certain way type of mindset. I went into this knowing that these were two totally different cultures, and I've always been fascinated with the African culture. So I just embraced everything that I was given, and also when you love somebody, you want to know more about them and more about their lives and how their traditions work and all this kind of stuff.
One thing I loved when I first got together with Ted, when we're courting, was that, you know, when he found out where I was from, he bought a Ghanaian book, a book about Ghana, our cultures, and he read it just to understand a bit about where I come from, and I love that so much about him. And another thing was the food. You know, I know how to cook African food. I'm more comfortable with cooking African food, and he was so open to enjoying my cooking, and I was like so excited. And when my family members ask me, what do you cook for him? Do you cook American food and stuff? Because in my culture, we believe in the woman being in charge of the kitchen and, you know, being in charge of things in the household, and the man as the head of the house. And that's something that I will never deviate from. And so I'm that traditional woman, and I will always be that woman. woman. And so my family members will ask me, what do you cook for him? What type of things do you make? And I'm like, oh, I make fufu and peanut butter soup. I make fufu and light soup. I make fufu and granite soup. I make this and that. And they're like, wow, you do? Does he eat? And I'm like, oh yeah, he eats it more than me. He even enjoys the spiciness of things. And they are shocked. They're like, wow, you've really transformed this man into an African. I'm like, I had to. We are married, and if this is what I like doing, then he gets used to what I like doing, because it makes life easier for the both of us, know. And I really like that Ted is open to enjoying my cooking, and I'm so happy because of that. And it makes it easier, not just for me, but for him to not have to figure out what to eat every single day. And now my daughter is learning to eat jollof rice and all these other.
And she loves it.
She loves it. All these other delicious spicy food, and it's so much fun being able to bring my culture in. I feel like I've introduced something so major to him, and I've also introduced something so major to my daughter.
Well, it's pretty easy to get used to it when your cooking is as delicious as it is. I mean, if you had one taste of it, you would just be like, oh, fan for life. Done.
Oh my God,
I'm officially converted. Well, thank you so much. This has been fun.
Yes.
You have a lot of other questions with regards to interracial relationships, but of course we only have so much time in one video. Cheers to you all. Thank you for the questions. Keep them coming.
Yes.
And we will see you very soon.
Don't forget to like and to subscribe, and please share our content. We are trying to get to 7,000 subscribers, and so if you are a regular, we ask that you share our content out there and invite people to subscribe. Thank you so much, and have a wonderful day, everybody.
See you next time.
See you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.